Hello and welcome to the Flores Garden. I am your host, Felicia Cassandra Flores, depending on how you know me. I am Felicia, Feli, Flea, yes, just like the annoying little bug, and Cassie. And for future references, I will be considering myself as Flores, because I am a flower. In case you haven't noticed by all of the books behind me, slightly packed shelf, I love books, I love reading, and for most of my life I have never reviewed a book because people don't like my opinions. But I'm 30 years old now and I don't care what you think. So if you don't like what I have to say about any book or your favorite book or a book you don't like, you can just go somewhere else, find something you do like, enjoy yourself, because I'm gonna enjoy myself. Anyways, it's Monday. I should technically be at work right now, but if you can't tell by my voice, I'm trying to fight off a cold. And I spent the past several days watching booktubers review books, and I found it hilarious, really. I found both positive and negative reviews on books that I liked and books that I didn't like. But everyone has a different opinion. And that is why I decided to create my own booktube channel. I read whatever catches my interest. As you can see just from this shelf here, I've got some children's books. And I've got classics, Gone with the Wind. I also have young adult, new adult, and a whole bunch of other stuff from different different genres. And so I thought I would start off with a book tour of my bookshelves. That should be interesting and fun. First of all, I have 5 bookshelves, 4 of which are filled with books. The last one is filled with movies. And if you're curious about that, maybe I'll do a little short video on that one. Just let me know. First bookshelf, at the very top, I have my favorite books. First, we have Danny Phantom. It's a comic book that continues on where the series left off, and it actually fills in a plot hole that had been bugging me since childhood. So I'm really excited and happy to have this back in my life. Next are the books that I personally wrote, but I'm not going to talk about those. Moving on is Mirrored, a modern day version of Snow White. I have read this so many times, but as soon as I finish it, I just start it all over again. The Scars We Bear by Casey Frenson, another book that I just started all over again as soon as I was finished with it. In fact, there's a bookmark that is just permanently in there now. Oops. Ah, I dropped Wesley. And here we have The Princess Bride. I have a teeny slight problem, obsessiveness with this story in general. I even got it signed by the actor Cary Elwes, where it says, "To Cassie, as you wish." Just slightly obsessive, just saying. Even Buttercup came to join the party. So a quick pause here. I had to go to the grocery store because I am all out of food, and because I have absolutely no self-control. New book. And another new book. Still this top shelf that is currently covering my favorite books. This is my TBR pile. So the way I read it, because I am weird, I am going that way. And this book might actually be the first one that I review later, because I am about halfway through it already. And I'm saying maybe because of who I am as a person, I cannot read just one book. I am also reading this one at the exact same time, because I do like Bridgerton. So a quick look at all of the other books. Psyche and Eros, my second favorite Greek mythology story. I've got some Sherilyn Kenyon kind of dispersed out. Books about sirens and mermaids, yes, including manga. And books that I find in secondhand stores. 2 books about Captain Hook. Peter Pan. Hocus Pocus spellbook, which is supposed to be based off the book that Winifred Sanderson has in the movie. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So why would I read this one instead of the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? I've already read the original. First time when I was 10. Second time when I was 18. Did not like it. Not because it was too advanced, but because it was boring as heck. So why didn't I keep on reading it, or read it again? Why did I even pick it up in the first place? Because of this. This movie is the reason why I read many classics as a child. More Sherilyn Kenyon, some fantasy books, books I picked up from the Goodwill, as you can tell by the stickers. This one I got from a library that was getting rid of books. I don't remember where though. Oh hey, La Jolla Community High School. And we have more classics, The Romance of King Arthur, The Mist of Avalon, and a book about Hades. As you can see, the next section of the shelf is packed, so I will be breaking it down into increments. Starting with this section, we have Andersen, Hans Christian Andersen, fairy tales, The Arabian Nights, and Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. By the way, not for children. Extremely dark. And then a student Bible, Egyptian hieroglyphics, and how to read them. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. Did I buy this book because of the movie? Yes, I did. Is it a spell book like it is in the movie? No, it's not. It's an instruction book on funeral rites in ancient Egypt. A baby name book, which I use when I'm writing my own novels. Folk tales, Native American tales. It was actually a very interesting read. I've got various language dictionaries, Russian, Spanish, German. This one you can't see the title of because I had to repair it. Italian. This one is more Spanish. This one, again, you can't see the title, but it's French. There it is. And the last language book I have is Arabic. Smack dab in the middle of those dictionaries, I have a writer's notebook meant for children, how to write novels, and tarot cards, which I will explain later because it does involve a book series. Lastly, in this corner, Little Women and Werewolves. I did read the original Little Women book and was not a fan. So I'm hoping it'll actually be more interesting than the original. I also have a few books of the American Girl series. Felicity, because Her name, Felicia, Felicity, so similar. And I have Josefina. It takes place in New Mexico. And those of you that know me, I'm from New Mexico. So of course I liked her. And I have one small book here. It was a Samantha series. So I know I don't have the entire collection, but they are actually very difficult to find. And this one, another New Mexico book, Albuquerque. And another fantasy book, The Edge of the World. Section of the shelf. On a Pale Horse, it's about the apocalypse. Another classic, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Kelly Armstrong books. These were the first ones I have read that she has written. I still need to get to those. Well, to that one at least. Piper. It's a comic book of the Pied Piper. This one, Avengers, novel form. The Finisher, Ghost Adventures, my Peter Pan collection, most of it. Peter Pan. Peter Pan. I explained this earlier. I have my books organized by author's last name. A's, B's. The only slight problem with that is that the original Peter Pan, written by J.M. Barrie, spelled B-A-R-R-I-E, is supposed to come after this selection of Peter Pan, B-A-R-R-Y, because these 4 books are all prequels to what happens in here. And there's Peter and Captain Hook from Once Upon a Time. Off this section we have The Wizard of Oz, a Titanic mystery novel. These 4 books are a twisted and different version of Alice in Wonderland. This is more of a prequel, and this is supposedly the true story of Alice. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm really not much of an Alice fan myself, too nonsensical, but this was different, darker, more... I can't really think of the word right now. Far more political than what we see in the movie or in the original story. And then we have another fantasy book, Jack the Ripper, because who isn't interested in unsolved murders, really? Conspiracy of Angels. So because I have way too many books and not enough shelf space, I tend to stack them on top of each other. First one, Thoughts and Prayers. It's a book about, you guessed it, the aftermath of school shootings. A biography of Don Bluth and all of his amazing characters. You can see Mrs. Brisby from The Rats of Nim, Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven, Littlefoot, Fievel, Princess Anastasia. I literally got this book because it has my name on it. First Bite. It's a book that I got from a website called Book by You, where you can actually create your own books. All you do is fill out a little form, such as adding in the main character's name, their eye color, hair color, best friend's name, etc. It was actually really nice. And this book is the teen version because I got it as a teenager. They also have books for children and adults. So if you want to check that out, I highly suggest it. Romanov, a fantasy book about Princess Anastasia, which I will get to eventually. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. This is actually based off of the Netflix series. not the series that came out back in the 90s. Book of Spells, something I grabbed from the Goodwill. The Sisters Grimm, a children's book series. I found it when I was about 14-ish, but I love fairy tales, so that's okay. And it's about the descendants of Wilhelm and Jacob Grimm. What I love about the Sisters Grimm is that it involves not just fairy tales, but also other bits of work. This fairy here is Puck from Shakespeare's A Midsummer's Night's Dream. Red Riding Hood riding the Jabberwocky from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Take a wild guess at who that is supposed to be. I actually can't remember if that was a dragon or a Jabberwocky. It's been a few years since I last read it. So the last time I read the series, I had annotated it. You can see just a little bit of that. Whoop, no. You can see a bunch of the fairy tale characters in this one. There's, I think that's Papa Bear from Goldilocks. Pretty sure that one's King Arthur. There's Puck. In the center at the top is Prince Charming. That one could be Papa Bear or Mama Bear, I'm not sure. Pretty sure down there is Robin Hood. The Genie and the Magical Lamp. And finally, the last book in the Sisters Grimm series. Two more classics, A Little Princess and the Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. The Amazing Tarzan of the Apes. And my absolutely most favorite book from when I was 10 years old, Molly Moon's Incredible Book of Hypnotism. It is the first in a series, so I might go back and recap on this when I bring out the other books. The next section of the shelf, which is also kind of overflowing. As I said before, Molly Moon's Incredible Book of Hypnotism is the first of his series. There are 6 books total, but I do not have the last one, which I do need to order soon. So in this one, she gets the powers of hypnosis. She learns how to freeze time. She learns how to time travel. She learns how to read minds. And she learns how to shapeshift. Next is Avalon High from the same author that wrote The Princess Diaries. And then is the Morganville Vampires collection. This carries books 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to here. After that is The Prince of Shadows. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling from the point of view of Romeo's cousin Benvolio. It's all written in modern language, but there are certain quotes from the play, as you can see, which I kind of annotated right there. And a little bit right there. The Hacienda and Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. These books take place around the southern U.S.-Mexico border, more or less. I know this one is around the Texas border. Break Up from Hell, a young adult book about dating demons. The Alienist, because I saw the first episode of the show and I really enjoyed it, but I never continued on. 1,000 Heartbeats. And Catwoman, starring Halle Berry. So glad I got that right. I keep confusing her with Halle Bailey. Next is the Canterbury Tales. And then my Agatha Christie collection, including the book I bought recently. More fantasy. This one is a romance, ostentatious romance. It was really good. Back to my tarot cards. The reason I bought these was because of this series right here. These books are about young people who have the powers of the tarot cards in order to survive the apocalypse. Unfortunately, I do not have the first book with me. My cousin is borrowing it, but it goes right here. And I spent the entire series jotting down notes and pulling out tarot cards to study them to figure out what was going on in the book. And my friends can confirm this because I sent them pictures and video clips of the cards moving, and it was just really crazy, and it made me scream and cry in both a good and bad way. Another Cressley Cole book, and I've got the poetry collection by Misha Collins, who plays Castiel in Supernatural. And this is a sequel to The Rats of Nim, which I also have, but it's in a different part of a different shelf. A book about Billy the Kid, my favorite outlaw. I bought this because that was really intriguing. Who murdered him? Who is him? Why? I need to know these answers. House of Salt and Sorrow, a dark version of the 12 Dancing Princesses. Plot twists I did not see coming. Another book by the same author, which I have not gotten to yet. Same thing for this one. The Wanderer I read when I was in middle school, and I remember enjoying it, so I got it as soon as I found it at a secondhand store. And these books by Andrea Creamer, I started reading towards the beginning of college, but I never really got around to finishing that, so I need to do that soon. Next round of stacked books, Clive Cussler. I've been really into mysteries lately, so I'm gonna start binging those books next. Another classic, Matilda, with the Trunchbull in the back. Another fantasy novel. And another fantasy novel. Most of these books I've had for years, but never actually gotten around to reading. The Maze Runner, because I saw the movie and I really enjoyed that. Starlighter, a Christian fantasy series about dragons. Second book in the series. If I'm remembering correctly, this was a spin-off to the two books from earlier. Also by the same author is a different Christian fantasy series involving dragons. I started reading these books in the 7th or 8th grade, I believe. We are nearing the bottom of the first shelf. As you can see, this side is not completely packed like the ones above it. Here we have the last of the Christian fantasy books about dragons. And also by the same author is this trilogy, which was more of a sci-fi feel to it. It involved alternate Earths. And then the Dear America series of girls from different eras jotting down in their diaries about what's going on with the American history. Cinder and Glass and Snow and Poison, these two are historically, not really accurate, but historical versions of Cinderella and Snow White. Seventh Son. I believe there's 2 books within this collection, possibly 3. The reason I bought this is because my sister, who does not really enjoy reading, read the entire series, so I was curious to know what this was about to get my sister to read. Facing the Music by Leanne White-Steller. She is one of the members of my choir, Sounds of the Southwest Singers. and it's a book explaining how the choir came to be. My Dessin books, I only have 2 of them. I gave a couple of the others that I had to a student who actually really enjoys this author, so I'm glad that I could help encourage her love of reading. The Tale of Despero, the original as well as the comic, I can't really get it out. The comic version from the movie, starring Emma Watson and Matthew Broderick. Lastly, in this corner, we have my Charles Dickens collection, Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, and A Tale of Two Cities. Next section, this one is a retelling of Snow White. And then we move on to my Disney collection, which is a lot more extensive than what is shown here. So I know I said I have my books in alphabetical order by author's last name, but in the case of Disney, I have it in a specific order, starting with two biographies of Walt Disney, and then 2 full film scripts, The Lion King and The Little Mermaid. So far I've only read The Little Mermaid one, and it includes bits of trivia about the movie, the 1989 version of the movie. Next we have Far From Agrabah. It's a little adventure that Aladdin and Jasmine had during A Whole New World. The Journal of Milo Thatch from Atlantis. The novelization of the 2017 version of Beauty and the Beast, as well as a short story of Belle's adventures during Beauty and the Beast, something we don't see in the movie. A book about Merida from Brave. My Frozen collection. This one is a prequel about Anna and Elsa's parents. A Frozen Heart, which is my personal favorite out of the collection. It is about Hans's point of view throughout the movie, and you can just see his descent into madness throughout the entire thing, and it's really fascinating. And these 2 are Frozen 2 sequels. Hocus Pocus and its all-new sequel. This sequel right here has nothing to do with the sequel that was on Disney+. They are 2 completely different stories. These 2 books here are based off of the live-action version of The Little Mermaid. This is a prequel story where one of Ariel's sisters, Mala, was kidnapped and she has to figure out who did it and why. And this is just a guidebook of the different seas and oceans, as well as the different mermaids within the new version of The Little Mermaid. Now, within the Disney collection, we also have certain series. This one is the Mirrorverse, which I was not aware was a video game until after I bought the book and read it, and I was confused for a second. And then I ended up seeing an ad for the game, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then the Disney Princes series. So far, only Prince of Song and Sea is out. It's Eric's point of view of The Little Mermaid. The next book in the series is supposed to be Prince Philip, but that's not out until October, I believe. And then The Queen's Council, a different series about the princesses as adults having to rule their own separate kingdoms. Rebel Rose is Beauty and the Beast. Belle's experience after she breaks the curse, which is set during the time of the French Revolution. And Feather and Flame is Mulan's point of view after she saves China, and she ends up becoming the brand new emperor of China after the older one dies of old age. This little corner right here is my second TBR pile, not as urgent as the other one on the very top shelf. I am currently reading When He Was Wicked, a Bridgerton novel, Francesca's love story, which I will end up doing a review on in a bit. I'm about halfway through it already. Next is The Winter Soldier, my absolute favorite character from the Avengers, and everybody else can fight me on this. And lastly, Harley Quinn's origin story, which should be an interesting read. Finally, we have reached the very bottom of the first shelf. This is just a mix of various things. I have old magazines, music, books, wizardology, Egyptology, Harry Potter picture books, Disney picture books, this giant astrological book I got from one of my cousins on my birthday, I believe. Oh, another Disney collection. I've got Disney Fairies, 101 Dalmatians in both English and Spanish, Space Jam, Peter Pan. You can pretty much see all the titles there. Some of my Dr. Seuss collection, books that I've had personally as my own, as well as some that belonged to my mom when she was an elementary teacher. Yet another version of The Princess Bride. This one is an illustrated version, which I simply had to have. And that is the end of the tour for the first bookshelf, because I have 3 more to go and it's going to be a while. I have so many books. So I'll let you know what I'm reading. Bye!